Good day, class. I hope you guys are all doing good. Welcome back to Statistics and Mathematics Tutor YouTube channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe, like, and share so that always when we drop videos, you can come and then watch. This is our first discrete probability distribution video that we are making. So in our previous videos, we discussed something on random variable and the variables, and then we came to introduction on probability distributions. If you haven't watched the video on introduction to probability distributions, kindly go and then watch and then benefit before we start Bernoulli process so that you will really understand the Bernoulli process. So the Bernoulli process is the first discrete probability distribution that we are tackling, right? A random variable is said, a random variable x is said to have a Bernoulli distribution if it assumes the value 0 and 1 for the two outcomes, right? So for Bernoulli process, they just have assume only two outcomes, and that two outcomes can either be 0 and then 1, right? We cannot have any outcome more than these two outcomes, right? And then we have probability mass function for Bernoulli process, right? So we are saying that the probability for the success in the trial x is defined by what? This probability mass function, right? So probability mass function for Bernoulli trial is what? Probability of x, which is equal to p raised to the power x bracket open 1 minus p bracket close raised to the power 1 minus x, where our x can always be either be 0 or 1, so we cannot exceed this one, right? So probability of success here is equal to 1, and the probability of failure here is equal to 1 minus p, right? So as you can see here, the p is probability of success, and then 1 minus p, as you can see in the PMF, is what? Probability of failure, right? So this probability of failure, as you can see here, can also be equal to kill, right? So in other sense, our PMF, right, can be also be written as p raised to the power x q raised to the power q raised to the power 1 minus x, right? As you can see, q raised to the power 1 minus x. So it can be either be written in this form or that form, right? So right now we have known what our PMF is, and sometimes, since when we are treating the random variables, we are able to find the mean and then the variance, standard deviation of the random variables. When they come to this special probability distribution cases too, we can also find our mean and our variances. So at the end of the day, you could see that the mean and the variance of the distribution, that's the Bernoulli distribution, the expectation of the Bernoulli distribution is equal to p, right? So when any Bernoulli distribution is given to you and they ask you of the mean, the mean is always given as the probability of success, as you can see here, that's the p, and the variance is given as p, right? The variance is given as p into bracket 1 minus p, right? In other sense, it's just given as p times q. So either that form or this form, right, can be given as p times q, or p times bracket of 1 minus p, right? So that is how we can find our mean and variance for the Bernoulli distribution. So let's go through some examples to really appreciate the probability mass function and then the mean and the variance of the distribution. So for example, our first example, as you can see here, our first example is a 6-sided fair dice is tossed once with each element in a sample space having a probability of 1/6. Find the probability distribution, the mean and the variance if the value 5 occur, right? Though in the question you were saying that each element in the sample space has probability of 1/6, right? But here our value of interest in the outcome of the die is 5, right? Only 5 occur, right? So when a die is tossed once, right, this is the outcome that you get, because a die is having 6 different numbers on it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and then we just want to find the probability that 5 occurs, right? Probability that 5 occurs is what? 1 over 6 as it was given inside the question. So because there is 6 outcomes here, right? So our n, right? Our n of x is equal to what? 6, right? And then our character of interest, that's the 5. Our degree of interest, that's the 5 is what? 1. We have only 5 occurring, so that probability is surely going to give us what? 1 over 6, right? As given inside the question. So that 1 over 6 there is what? The probability of what? Success. That's the p. So once we have the p, and then we want to find the q, right? The q is giving us what? 1 minus what? P, right? So q is equal to 1 minus 1 over 6, of which we will get what? 5 over 6 for the q, right? So at the end of the day, you will see that the probability of success is 1 over 6, and our probability of what? Failure is what? 5 over what? 6, as you can see, right? And then when we are just learning the Bernoulli distribution, we came across the PMF. So this is what the PMF, the probability mass function for Bernoulli distribution, right? And the question told us to find what? The distribution. The first question was to find the distributions, right? So at the end of the day, we have this our probability mass function here, right? And then we want us to find the distribution. Here we have our P and then we have our Q. So what we will just do is that since the x was not given, what we just do is that just pick our P and the Q and come and substitute it inside the PMF to get this one. So here, this is what our distribution after what substituting in our P, because here was P and then P was 1 over 6, as you can see, 1 over 6 raised to the power x, and then Q was 1 minus 1 over 6. Once you get this, so this is what our distribution for the question given above. And then we are asked to find our mean and variance, right? When we were treating the Bernoulli, I told you guys that the mean for the Bernoulli distribution is what? Just the probability of success. Just the probability of success, that's the P, that's 1 over 6, as it was given here, 1 over 6. So the mean is just P, right? And the variance here is what? P into bracket 1 minus P. So it's more or less, the variance is more or less probability of success times probability of failure. So here, our probability of success was 1 over 6, and then our probability of failure was given as 5 over 6. Once you multiply, we are surely getting 5 over 36. So that's our mean and the variance for our distributions, right? Then the second question too is just telling us how many possible outcomes can there be for a Bernoulli trial, right? So when we are treating the course, I told you guys that Bernoulli have only 2 trials, only 2. It cannot exceed 2, exactly as 2, right? So this question is telling us that how many possible outcomes can there be for Bernoulli trials? So A, exactly 10 outcomes, exactly 2 outcomes, none of the above. So the correct answer will be B, right? Exactly what? 2 outcomes, right? Either 0 or 1. It can never exceed, right? And the third question also is telling us that probability of success in a Bernoulli trial is 0.4. What's the probability of failure, right? We have been given the probability of success, which is the P, and we are saying that the P is equal to 0.4. So what will be the probability of failure? Probability of failure is just 1 over what? Probability of success. That's the P. So here you are going to have P is equal to 0.4. We are just asked to find for the Q. Then Q is given as 1 minus P. Our fish here is equal to 0.6, right? As you can see on the board, right? So our probability of failure is 0.6. And then for the fourth, that's the last question. The probability of success in the Bernoulli trial is what? 0.3. What is the distribution? What is the distribution, mean, and what? Variance, right? So right now, the probability of success in the Bernoulli trial is given as what? 0.3. So we have this 0.3 here. And then for the Q, if we want the Q, we just subtract probability of success from 1, right? So Q is equal to 1 minus 0.3, of which here we got 0.3. Sorry, 0.7. So probability of success is 0.3, and probability of failure is what? 0.7. So if they want the distribution, we just have our PDF, and then just substitute in our PMF, and just substitute in the 0.3 and the 0.7 for them, right? So at the end of the day, one substitute P represented by 0.3 will be 0.3 is the power x, and then the 1 minus P will be represented by 0.7, and get 0.7 is the power 1 minus 1 x, right? So at the end of the day, this is the distribution for the preamble given above, or the question given above, and then we are asked to find the mean and the variance for these distributions, and then you see that our expectation of x is given as what, 0.3. Yes, because we just learned that for Bernoulli distribution, our expectation is given as what, probability of our success, right? And the probability of success given inside the question was what, 0.3. And then we have been asked to find what, the variance, right? And the variance to, as me and you know that the variance to is equal to, either p, q, or p into bracket 1 minus what, p, right? As we know. So this is what our probability of success times 1 minus what, our probability times what, probability of what, failure. So 0.3 times what, 0.7 is going to give us 0.21. So this is the end on for Bernoulli distributions. Kindly take your time and then rewatch the video again if you are not getting it. So please, as you have watched the video, kindly subscribe, like, comment and share to your friends for them to also be relieved from the stress, as when they taught them the Bernoulli distribution, they didn't know got it. So thank you for watching the video. See you next time. So in our next video, we are going to treat what we call the binomial distribution. Thank you. Bye.